Welcome back to our live training session here with our K24 swapped Civic Si. This tutorial, we're now going to focus on looking at our cold start. So we're on a separate day here from the previous tutorial. I've let the vehicle cool down overnight, and we're going to take a look at what the fueling characteristics of the engine are going to be. Do we need to add more fuel? Do we need to take away fuel? We want to make sure that it has a reasonable air fuel as it's starting up. We're also going to take a look at where the idle RPM's at, making sure the idle's stable as the engine is warming up. This is one of the basic things that we always have to check after we've done the entire calibration process when the engine is warm. So we need to go and dial in all of our tables, get everything sorted out, then take a look at things when the engine is cooled down. We have specific tables that are going to add fuel on top of what we've already built into the main table. So the main fuel tables represent steady state airflow coming into the engine. They also represent the engine in its warmed up state. When the engine is cold, the fuel is going to stick to the intake track and to the intake valve. It's going to have what's known as a wall wetting effect. So the wall wetting will be something that we have to overcome, and we use the fuel compensation, specifically the warm-up compensation, to be able to add additional fuel, additional injector pulse width when the engine is warming up. So that's what we're going to be looking at here, and making sure the engine can crank to fire. So we need more or less fuel. We'll have to see what that looks like and get the engine to fire off and run, and then what it's going to do when it's actually running and coming up to operating temperature. Now, I consider operating temperature around 170 to 180 on one of these K series, and that's right where the enrichment starts to decay away completely, and there's no further adder in our fuel compensation tables. So what we'll do here is fire up the engine. I'm going to let it data log, and then I'm going to capture the entire data log process from cranking to fire up to running, coming up to operating temperature. Then we'll just simply play it back and see what changes we need to make. The next thing we're going to do is then take a look at where to set our VTEC engagement point and our load thresholds. We've dialed in both the low cam and both the high cam. We need to figure out that engagement point. What is going to be smooth? What's going to give us the broadest torque band possible? So we'll look at how we can figure that out a little bit later here. And then finally, to wrap up this tutorial, we're going to take a look at doing our flex fuel based tuning for this naturally aspirated engine. We're going to go ahead and drain the fuel out. We're going to go put ethanol fuel in, see what the ethanol content's going to be, probably between 50 to 70% if I had to guess. I'm using winter blend ethanol, which is usually around 70% here, and then there's going to be some residual petrol fuel in the tank. I'm not going to be able to get all that out, so we'll probably be left with anywhere, again, from 50 to 70% ethanol. We'll look at what we can accomplish and how to dial in the ethanol-based tune. It's extremely simple. Essentially, it's going to overlay on top of everything we've already done in our previous training tutorials, going through and dialing in our low and high cam operation. So what we'll do now is simply fire off the engine. We're going to data log it, and then let the engine warm up, play it back, and then start to see what changes we need to make. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I am online with my vehicle. We can see a little the lightning eye icon here is clicked on. Taking a look at our screen, we can find here that the coolant temp is showing 60 degrees, air temp showing 57. They look pretty reasonable, exactly what we should see. Ambient conditions are right around 55, 60 here in our garage. Now looking in the battery voltage, this is 11.8 volts. That's still acceptable. It's a little bit lower than I'd like to see, but it is acceptable. And everything else here looks reasonable. We can take a look at the wideband showing full lean, and the fuel pressure showing here 45 PSI. And the ethanol content is registering 7% with our flex fuel sensor. So what I'm going to do right now is go up here into the record option and just record this so I can play it back and review it, and we can see what changes we might need to make. I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's out of gear here, fire it up. It actually cranked and fired really well. It means our cranking fuel is solid. We'll allow it to warm up. I'll be back here in probably about 5-10 minutes, and then again we'll review that data log and see what, if any, changes we need to make. I'll be back. All right, so we take a look here. The coolant temperatures now has reached 171 degrees. Let's go ahead and stop the data log. I'm going to go up here and click the record button to stop the data log. We're still live with the ECU. Let me go ahead and shut the engine down so we can talk a little bit easier. So what we're going to do here is jump into our graph, and we're going to take a look at the plotted data from that data capture, and we're going to take a look at what that's going to show us. What I'm going to do here is right click and go to zoom full, and we're going to look at this from the beginning where we cranked over the engine, and then till the very end here where it's essentially came up to operating temperature. I'm going to switch from this NOC template here and move over into a different template. I believe I have one called tuning, and if I don't, we might have to create one here. We can look, let's see what else we have here. All right, let's just create something real quick. What we're going to do is go into our graph templates, and I'm going to go in here and go into add. And then we're going to title this one, just call it tuning, just give us kind of a general overview of what's going on with some things here. We're going to pick RPM as 1, and we're going to do black. And then the other options here.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.